Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the podcast. I'm your host Brian Keane, online fitness coach, nutritionist and 3-time best-selling author, here to help you by deconstructing expert guests on all things health, fitness and mindset. Today's guest is with WWE Hall of Famer Diamond Dallas Page. A lot of you will be familiar with Dallas if you grew up watching wrestling like me. I was a massive wrestling fan in the 90s and early 2000s, so this was a bit of a fangirl moment for me. I think it's only ever happened twice on the podcast, once with Robin Sharma, who wrote The Monk Who Sold Your Ferrari, amongst other books, one of my favorite authors. And again, today with Dallas, somebody that from the age of 8 was obsessed with professional wrestling. We also broke this episode into 2 different parts. Dallas was very generous with his time and we got to cover a whole host of different topics. So instead of going all the way through with a 90-minute episode, I'm breaking it up into 2 parts. Again, I know this is from feedback from long-term listeners who like having it kind of capped at that 45-minute range, not going over the hour. So I'm listening, so I appreciate the feedback for everyone that's always given that. The first part today, we're going to talk about mindset. So the importance of mindset when it comes to success. We talk about his film and docuseries, Resurrection, Relentless, how he broke his back, professional wrestling, and had to create a fitness program because doctor told him he'd never wrestle again. And we focus heavily on the mindset side of becoming positively unstoppable, how to own what those 6 inches between your 2 ears, and finding the inspiration to change your life if you're feeling stuck in the moment. The second part will be a little bit more fitness based on DDP yoga, how to find motivation in your training and why self-discipline is the truest form of self-love. So in part 2, it'll be a continuation. So this week's episode, we kick it off. The first couple of minutes, there's music in the background from Dallas's side, and then that goes away. And then part 2, we will jump straight into his training side and training philosophy. So without further ado, here is today's podcast guest with WWE Hall of Famer Diamond Dallas Page on becoming positively unstoppable, the art of owning it, and finding the inspiration to change your life. Part 1 of 2. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the podcast. I'm delighted to be joined today with my guest, Diamond Dallas Page, aka DDP. DDP is a WWE Hall of Famer, 3-time world champion, founder and CEO of DDPY, actor, author, and inspirational speaker. The DDP story is the heart of DDPY, a fitness program born out of necessity and reality. After years of wrestling injuries, including a broken back, DDP developed a real-life workout that completely gave him his life back. His thinking was that if it could work for him, why not share it with others who want to change their lives again too? Dallas has had some of the most inspirational transformations I've ever seen and is not only changing the lives with his programs, he's also doing it with his online presence, his book Positively Unstoppable, The Art of Owning It, and combinations of docuseries and films, all of which I will link in the show notes for today's episode. I'm looking forward to talking all things mindset, resilience, and mental and physical transformation in today's episode. Dallas, welcome to the podcast.
Dude, that was a phenomenal entrance. That was phenomenal. I want you to send me that. And that's what I'm going to give people when they're about to introduce me, because you got it all in. It was direct and to the point. And because there are so many things, I literally just turned 67 the other day, April 5th. And I cannot believe how many different things, how many different companies I run, how many different workouts that I'm doing, and just and getting to spend super quality time with my kids and my wife. I mean, I'm living my most blessed life, especially this last 3.5 years.
Dallas, you were one of the most inspirational people to me. Like I had a complete fangirl moment because I was a WCW, WWE guy as going back 15, 20 years ago and beyond. But now I've been following your journey online, the book Positively Unstoppable, like the inspirational stories on which we're going to get onto as the podcast goes on. But I want for everybody listening to kind of talk a little bit about DDPY. I know it was born out of necessity, as I mentioned, but it's becoming a complete movement. Talk to us about where it is now, just to give people a little bit of a background to it.
Well, DDPY stands for Diamond Dallas Page's Yoga. And basically, yoga for people who wouldn't be caught dead doing yoga. The most yogis, they've got their deal. They understand. They're reach their arms to the heavens so the universe smiles back at them. I totally respect it. I get it. But it's not what I'm doing. I'm the guy who wouldn't be caught dead doing yoga the first 42 years of my life. But you have to go back to and understand, I respect all types of yoga today. I think they're all phenomenal. I killed this music in the background. You can hear my country boys singing in the background. But you have to understand where I come from. I grew up in the nightclub business. I tried to be a wrestler at 23. It didn't work out for me. I became a manager at 31 while I was running a killer nightclub, and only because Jake the Snake Roberts came in my club. Here's a great picture of me and him, which would be like 6 years later. But Jake came in my club. He told the boys about it, because if you work Miami or Tampa, it's 300 miles to get there, or I guess 220 kilometers or something. It's a good distance. Right in the middle was this nightclub I was running called Fort Myers. So guys stayed there, and next thing you know, I got Ted DiBiase and the Bushwhackers stopping by. One night, me and Ted got so drunk. This is us doing upside down tequila shooters. I'm not Diamond Dallas Page at the time. There is no DDP. It's just, probably lingering in the back of my mind. At some point, I decided I was going to try it. I'm too old to be a wrestler. I want to be a manager. And that's what I did for 3.5 years while I was still in the nightclub business, because I wasn't making any money. Those first 3.5 years, it cost me money. A lot of money to be Diamond Dallas Page, but it was a vision of getting to the WWF, WWE today, or WCW, getting to the show. And then when I finally got there, Dusty Rhodes, who was my mentor, my brother, this is a great picture of me and him from when I was working for him in Florida Championship Wrestling. That's 33 years ago. Dusty went back to, he stopped being the polka dotted guy, which was never him, in WWF, and came back to WCW, and he brought me in as a manager. But it only lasted a total of like 8 months, because it took 4 months to get a contract. And then I was into my 1-year contract, 5 months. So I guess it was 9 months to get it got to a point to where Dusty, and he didn't do it, Magnum TA did it. They basically told me that it's not my fault, but they can't let me manage anymore because of the hair and the bling and the diamond dolls and the rap and just everything. Basically, I was that guy. And they told me that basically I was too over the top for professional wrestling as a manager. And I said, Magnum, I said, this doesn't make sense to me. He goes, it's not your fault. He said, we should have put a pair of tights and boots on you and see if you could do this. And he kind of laughed, because I was 35 at the time. And he kind of laughed and walked away. And I thought, I got 7 months left on my contract. I'm going to become a professional wrestler. Everybody laughed in my face. They thought I was crazy because of my age, because it takes so long to learn the skill, the art of professional wrestling. Think of it as ballet. Ballet, no one's just going to walk out there and put on a pair of shoes, guy, male or female, and start fluttering around. Like, you got to work. You got to learn. You got to put your dues in. And for me, those guys who laughed in my face, and they're all friends of mine, they didn't realize my work ethic. They didn't realize that I was also going to figure out ways to hold back the hands of time. Trying to hold back, as I was constantly, like, there's nothing natural about falling on your back. There's nothing natural about Macho Man jumping off the top rope and landing on your rib cage at 258 pounds. There's nothing natural about that. And it's not checkers. It beats up your body. And it took me 6 years. I started in 91. By the time 1997 rolled around, my career had exploded. And like, the two hottest guys in the business were me and Stone Cold Steve Austin. We were the shit that year. And of course, he kept going because they kept pushing him. And I still had an unbelievable run. I headlined 13 out of 24 main event or semi-main event pay-per-views. I just signed a multi-million-dollar 3-year deal, and then I broke my back. And what that meant for me, because people breaking their back, there's so many different ways you can break your back. For me, it was God gave us this amazing vertebrae, and in between them are these amazing thing called discs, and they're like shock absorbers. And one night I took that power bomb from Kevin Nash, and he's 6'10", and when I came down, it wasn't his fault; it was time, because when he laid me flat like he always would do, but my shock absorbers finally went boom. And think of a donut and just squash it. That's what it was like. So if I don't get back in the ring, I just signed that contract, that multi-million-dollar, the bottom of the contract would have been $4.3 million. The top was wherever it went to. So it was worth millions of dollars. And I had never been paid up till that point. When you saw me in 97 and 98, I made $275,000 and $295,000. That's a lot of money. But for spot where I was in, everybody was in seven figures. I was in low six figures headlining with everybody. So I'd finally gotten paid. And then those three different spine specialists told me my career was over. So I'm going to rehab, or physio, what you call it. And I've already rehab the back, both shoulder surgeries and both knee surgeries. So I know a lot about it. The back was a whole new place for me to learn about. And it wasn't, obviously the docs were like, you're done. And they're prescribing the physio for me. And that's when my first wife, Kimberly, said, you should do yoga to heal your body. And I got to be honest, I was like, I ain't fucking doing yoga. No, I'm not doing that. But I was ignorant. I had to learn that flexibility is youth, not just in your body, but in your mind. Like my mind had to become flexible to the idea of trying yoga, then putting in the work. And she found a couple of different instructors I had nothing to do with, but this one guy named Brian Kess from LA, and we're friends today. Even though he was a pure yogi, he was also from a place called Detroit, which would be a really rough section of our country. And so he was a real dude. The thing that he at the time didn't do, everybody looked like Gumby. Everybody was skinny and twist themselves in pretzels. And he didn't really show any modifications. He later on would do that. But at this period, there were no modifications. So it was really challenging. And I had to figure out how to modify this position until I could actually get there. And over those first 3 weeks, I was starting to feel a significant difference. Now, it wasn't giving me everything, like I said. So I took the physio part and I mixed it with yoga positions. So many people say, I was doing these moves before I got your program with my physio, and so many of them are the things that you do, except you tie them all together. So I just feel stronger and I keep a constant movement going. So then I threw in like old school calisthenics, push-ups, squats, crunches, but I had to do them with a slow burn movement because of my back. I couldn't, do anything fast. And I was so concerned, like in my mind, once I put the yoga and the rehab together and started to add in the old school calisthenics, I thought, man, I'm going to get back in the ring. Like it's going to happen. And so many people have the attitude, I'll believe it when I see it. Those people never see anything. When you see it and you believe it, that's when it becomes possible. It's got to start from the inside out. You've got to have that conversation with yourself. That's what Positively Unstoppable is all about. The art of owning it. It is this 6-inch piece of real estate in between your ears. It's the inner voice. It's a story we tell ourselves. And I had to completely change that story from woe is me to I'm going to do this. And In less than 3 months, I was back in the ring. At 42, they said my career was over. At 43, that happened,
For
and
those who are just listening, he's pointing to the picture holding up the world title behind him.
people who understand and love wrestling realize the significance of being a world champion in our business. It's the significance of winning an Oscar. And then how many times have you, like the United States title or the Intercontinental title is like winning an Emmy, like something. It's a huge award that they put on you because they know that you can draw ratings, whether it's on television or pay-per-view. They know you're putting asses in the seats in the arenas, and they know that you really have hit the most elite part of your career.
Dallas, with that injury, particularly with the broken back, and I've been dying to ask this since I knew we were going to have the podcast together. When you got injured, did your mindset and brain automatically go into that positively unstoppable mindset of I'm going to get back, or did you get a low and then it grew from it? What was that process like?
I think I call it emotional gravity, where no one can do more damage to you than you. No one can pull you down more than you. No one can stress you out more than you. No one can worry you into a tailspin quite like you. I'll come back to that question, but I want to say this about worrying, which creates stress, which breaks down our body. There's a Ivy League university in our country. It's the elite of the elite. It's called Cornell University. They did a study where they were following a large group of people for a significant period of time, and what their findings were, 85% of the things we worry about never happen. But it even gets better than that. Of the 15% that was left over, people whose worries actually came to fruition, they handled those issues way better than they thought they ever would. And some people were like, wow, I'm really glad that happened because I learned a super valuable lesson here. So if you're doing the math, 97% of the things we worry about never happen. Now, I know all that, but still there's sometimes when you're hit with that kind of news, like your career's over, you work so hard to get there. No one ever picked you to be in the spot you're in, but you got there and now, boom, it's taken away. Of course, I'm going to go down just like everybody else. And life's 10%. I didn't know this when I was a kid growing up, but when I look back at my youth growing up, I really was starting to understand that life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react to it. The opening chapter in Positively Unstoppable is living life at 90%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how much of a part of it is in my DNA, like understanding that. And I know that when I'm pulling myself down, I think everybody at times needs to go down. The key is not to stay there. Like every single human being on this planet, from the highest official to the highest athlete to the highest entertainer, they all go down. They just don't talk about that part. I do, because it's important to know, yes, I go down, but I don't stay there. And that comes down to this 6-inch piece of real estate. What is the story you're telling yourself? In the beginning, I'm not going to, after 3 spine specialists tell me I'm done, I'm not thinking I'm coming back. I am thinking, how am I going to get out of this pain? How am I going to, so painful. Moving, sitting, I couldn't sit because of the way your body lay down, I could lay down. Getting up, whole nother challenge. So how can I get out of this pain is the first part of I'm coming back. And once I started to get out of the pain and started to strengthen my body, then I'm like, I'm coming back. And I didn't tell anybody but my first wife, Kimberly, who we're still best friends. She's a part owner of DDPY, which is DDP Yoga. She's a part of the company. And her and my wife today, Paige, they get along unbelievable because they're both unbelievable, amazing human beings, both of them. And, you're going to go down. The key is not to stay there. And the only way you get out is change the story you're telling yourself.
That reminds me, Dallas, with the line, how can I get out of this pain? Kind of going from that 0 to 1 when you've been hit with potentially a life transformation in a negative way, particularly with an injury like that, career threatening. It reminds me of Relentless, the film. It's a journey about you trying to save your wrestling career, and it turned into a lifelong passion to helping others achieve their true potential. I'm very curious, as somebody that, again, consumes anything you do, because I think what you put into your mind is literally what you put out into the world, and changing that story and putting all that positivity into your mind, that's the way you're going to project. What has been some of the feedback you've got from that film in particular? I assume it's going to be all positive from people. Again, you're always going to have people who have negative things to say, because that's the nature of the world. But I'm very curious with the positive feedback that you received from that film in particular. What were some of the things people said to you off the back of it?
It really comes, you got to remember, Resurrection of Jake the Snake was the first one. And when I say we filmed it, we did everything. We filmed it. My business partner, Steve Yu, is a genius when it comes to storytelling. And we filmed over 500 hours of Resurrection.
Yeah.
We'd been filming Relentless, never knowing we're filming for that reason. But Steve and I had been together for 17 years by the time that movie came out. And that documentary on Amazon Prime. Is it on Amazon Prime?
It's on the UK as well. Yeah.
Okay. We never realized, we just filmed everything. And we had all these stories. Like, when we get to the Arthur Borman story, I'll tell you how instrumental, again, Steve was. Steve is he was just a friend of mine at first. And then when I was rebranding the company from Yoga for Regular Guys to DDP Yoga, hashtag it ain't your mama's yoga, he came on to help me launch it. He never thought he was going to end up becoming the president of the company and a partner at that time. He didn't realize that. And I think I did, because I knew what we had because of the transformations. Back to the documentary Relentless, so many people have come up to me, especially when it comes to entrepreneurs, like people who are trying to do their own thing and how much it has helped them. Because I talk about the down times. Like, it's not, like, you decide you're going to do something, especially in the business world, it doesn't mean it's going to happen. You make it so it happens. And the only way it happens is you got to have the timing. And when I first started, it took 8 years to be an overnight sensation with DDP Yoga. 8 years and $548,000. So figure, at this point, probably 490,000, pounds. It took a long time for it to happen, but you got to keep believing. And it's got to be something that you love to do. This way, no matter what, I knew I was changing lives way back then. And that's what you have to hold on to. Because I tell people all the time, you want to feel better about yourself. You want to help with your depression and some mental illness today. Everybody knows, like, sometimes you need some prescriptions to go with it too. But it's no matter what, it's still going to come down to that inner voice. It's going to come down to your self-talk, what you say to yourself. And throughout Relentless, there were times where, there was at least 2 or 3 times where I thought, man, is this ever going to catch on? And one day, Steve, we relaunched the company, and it was DDP Yoga, the workouts. We were already starting to brand them DDPY. Why? So people wouldn't say, I love your yoga. I love your program, your DDPY program. If they call it DDP yoga, I'm good with that. But it's completely different. Like I said, it's not reach your arms to the heavens so the universe smiles back at you. We're flexing and engaging and stretching and strengthening. And when it comes to like the little muscles, they're the ones that really count in the big picture as life goes on. Those little muscles in your knees, your shoulders, and your hips, like making those strong along with the bigger muscles and tendons. See, most of yoga, and yoga is phenomenal, but a lot of it's simple stretching, and they do use strengthening positions too in certain ways they do it. But for me, we're constantly strengthening and stretching the muscles, ligaments, and tendons. That's why Jericho just signed a multi-million 3-year deal at 52. Chris had all of that time when he blew his back out at 41 and they said he was done. He saw that Arthur video and he's like, tell me what to do and I'll do it. And in 3 months later, he headlined WrestleMania with CM Punk. And he's gone on to do it throughout his career. And it's one of the reasons why he can do what he can do. AJ Styles, same thing. So many of the boys, and a lot of the girls do it too. The ones who are smart and they are looking for preventative maintenance. Like when you're living a dream as an athlete, whether it's a wrestler, a football player, a baseball player, you're one injury away from being done. And professional wrestling is different because it's talent, it's name brand. Like if a top footballer in your country gets injured, if he's the guy, he's going to be okay to come back if he can rehab back because he draws people. People at the bottom, though, they get hurt. There's a good chance they're done. They bring in a younger guy because they don't have a name brand for themselves. So Relentless showed a lot of people that it's a struggle, but you can do just about anything if you put your mind to it. And like when people ask me about wrestling, and I mean all the time, and I tell them, I say, what's your dream? If they say WWE or even TNA or any of the top organizations, I'm going to say, well, where are you financially? Do you have kids that depend on you? Like, it's a different animal. Like, to get to that level, you had to already be doing it. It's like a Hollywood actor. You don't just go out there and start acting. Like, you out there and you pay your dues for years, and maybe you get a couple roles. In wrestling, I tell them, if you're happy working the independents, which today, independent wrestling, when I was in the UK 5 years ago, I was blown away by how good it was. I was blown away. There was guys who were making a living being independent wrestlers. Like, wow, that was amazing. But same thing in the States. It was all growing, and then COVID hit and wiped it all out. But those same guys came back and they started drawing again, drawing people to the arena. And the guys who really put the work in, if I say to them, for guys starting out, if you can't breathe without it, like you can't breathe, you should definitely do it. But if you've got butt in there, you should not, because it's the hardest thing you'll ever do. And now these kids are training at 14, 15, 16. There's a guy named Nick. God, I can't remember his last name right now. He's unbelievable. He's 17 years old right now, just turned 17. But I've seen him wrestle since he was 15. He's unbelievable, the stuff that he can do at 15, 16. But he does DDP yoga too. He does the DDPY workouts because I talk to him. Like we stay in touch with each other. He is, they're starting so young. You're starting older. You better have everything laid out. Like when I was doing it, I was still making money, and I was making good money. So you have to be able to, be able to take care of your family or, yourself while you're going after this dream.
That line, if you can't breathe without it, I think that's a great internal check-in for people in terms of directional path on what they're doing. And you mentioned there about DDP yoga. What I want to say for people as well, you use the tagline, "It's not your grandma's yoga," which again explains everything you need to know. Before we get into Arthur Boorman, and I am going to talk about the docuseries Change or Die, because I'm dying to kind of unpack that. But for those who are listening, because DDTB yoga has helped so many, like, again, I follow your story. I'm a massive wrestling fan, particularly old school wrestling fan, the 90s, early 2000s. And I've seen Chris Jericho, I've seen AJ Styles, I've seen Jake the Snake, and whose lives, Scott Hall, rest in peace, whose lives you've transformed, who you've been able to impact in such a positive way. But also DDP yoga works as prevention for athletes. Who's the ideal person that can benefit from doing the DDP yoga? Because it's very different to normal yoga, and I think it's important for people to understand that. But from your own words, Dallas, who do you think, and again, I'm going to be biased and say everybody listening to this podcast because people are fitness, health into it, but from your own words, who do you find gets the most benefit from it, or has it historically got the most benefit from it?
I think weightlifters. Because they understand time under tension. Because a lot of the stuff I'm doing is flexing and engaging as I'm moving. So it's like I'm working my back, I'm working my chest. And we'll talk about this later, but these new power cuffs, I originally developed ones that were called jack straps. The name didn't work. It was practicing with it, but we perfected this power cuff. And what it does is it's all about, we'll get into it a little bit later, but it's all about blood flow restriction. It was developed for people who are injured to come back, because how you heal is get blood to the muscle. That's why when you blow out your rib, that's white cartilage. That's white muscle. That means there's no blood there. So it's really hard and takes time to heal. When you've got a lot of blood flow and you're putting on ice and heat, it sends the blood flow. So as far as DDP yoga, I think the most people that benefit the most are athletes that are coming towards the end of their run, and they're starting, they still want to be really active, but they can't be as active as they want to be because they've got injuries. Well, this is, it's like the injury help healer for every part of your body, but it's also for young athletes who think with a different level of mindset. And what I mean by that, they understand preventative maintenance, meaning so you don't get hurt. Now, average person who does yoga, if they're into the crunchy feely yoga, which I totally respect, that's what they should do. I'll give you a great example. Brandy Rhodes. She has recently become, just loves yoga. And I know that someone who really loves like that will appreciate mine, but it's not what they do. They were looking for the whole inner piece of yoga, and she's a stud, man. Brandy is a stud. I mean, she bounced back from that little beautiful baby Liberty like so fast, and now she's got just looks unbelievable. But her mindset is like she loves the art of yoga, and I totally get that. Mine is more for people who really don't get the whole yoga thing, but they still want to be incredibly active. Like there's so many weekend warriors. Like this workout, if you're doing this workout, and a lot of guys want to lift weights and hit the weights hard, but this workout will make it so you can do all of the other things as you grow older as well. So for me, it was fighting back the injury, but I've got everybody from little kids doing this who are athletes to people who are grandmothers, who can't get up and get down, from the ground. Well, my workouts start off in bed. Like, you can't get out of bed? I got 3 workouts for you in bed that'll help you get out of bed and sit in a chair and work out here. our chair force workouts you're doing sitting down in a chair, like coming up out to a T, hulking it up, attention. It's all the stuff you do standing, you do sitting, just different. Then we use a chair. And if you watch the Arthur Boorman video, and if you watch this, you're going to watch the Arthur Boorman video. And you're going to go, oh my God, I saw that years ago. Because it has over 1 billion views on all the different networks it's on. But you'll see him doing some of the chair stuff mixed with some of the things that I'm doing. He just added the chair. And the chair is amazing to help people get back balance, strength, and movement. And that's really, like this is great for the kid who wants to be a super athlete, not get hurt, to the senior adult who wants to still be active and enjoy being retired. And unfortunately, so many people eat such garbage that by the time they get in their 60s, 70s, they're so beat up from life and the shit food that they eat, they don't heal. I eat real food. In our country, United States, the food here sucks. Like, you can get good food, but it's not conveniently out there. All the garbage is conveniently out there. One of the things that I'm looking forward to going to the UK, next week, is the main thing I'm really excited about is some of the places I've learned the food can be really good there. And because I'm gluten-free, and I'll find a place that's got gluten-free fish and chips. I'll find my favorite beer that I drink is called Dura-Dom. It's a gluten-free beer. First time I drank it was in New York. Yeah. I figured first time I ever drank it. And there's a pub that literally gets me a case as soon as I buy that case, they order another one. And if they sell some of the beer, they make sure they got a case for me when I walk in the door. Because it's about eating real food. And there's a lot of places that have it, but more places don't have it,
Talk to us about the UK trip. I think for people listening that are interested, because you're going to a number of cities, I know you wish you were able to do more and longer. So next time, 100% we'll bring you on in advance and get that completely filled up in the calendar, which it would be now if you were able to, I know. But talk to us about the current trip, just where you're going to be, the dates for everybody listening as well.
What the main reason I get to go there is because I always wait till one of the promoters flies me out first class, and my wife. So I'm already there. And then I can start to get my own, little DDPY tour together. So on the 29th and 30th, we'll be in Manchester for that autograph, For the Love of Wrestling, it's called. And they put on a great show. And I've heard nothing but great things about it. But we're going to come in on the 17th, and we're going to head. My wife loves climbing mountains, and there's some places that she wants to see and climb. When we get there at first, our first night first morning that we'll be doing a workshop, I believe, let me look at the calendar. The 22nd is in Glasgow, and that'll be from 11, doors open at 11, and it'll start about 12-ish, and I think we start at 11. That's right, we start at 11. I'll get there an hour or so early because every single person that walks in, they get greeted by my wife and me, and we take a picture with them. So everybody's got that selfie, And then eventually I'll get up on stage and I'll do 30 minutes or so of inspiration meets perspiration. So I'm going to get them pumped up, get them like really with the right mindset. And then I'm going to break down what I call the Diamond Dozen. So anyone who's never done it before, they can do it. Like they can actually do the program never knowing it before. So I'm going to take one move at a time for about 13 moves, that I'll do, show them. And that takes about 40 minutes. And so some of the people who are been doing it for a while, they get to learn some little critiques that it took my time with everything, right? Then I'll do a workout. Now, some of the people, at Glasgow, we got like 95 people already signed up. So I know we're going to go over 100. And when you got 100 people, Like mine isn't silent yoga. You're hulking it up, brother. Attention. 1, 1, 1, 2. I mean, it's energy and it is loud. And the people, like last time I went to Glasgow, we did like 80 people. Like I said, this time I know we'll do over 100, and we'll do the workout, and then I'll do a little Q&A afterwards, and then take a big group picture with everybody. So it's a 3-hour deal. And then the next morning, we will be down at Newcastle, and we'll be doing it down there. Then we go to For the Love of Wrestling. And then I believe on Wednesday, the 3rd, we'll be in Birmingham. And that's already sold out. There's already 150 people there, going to be there. The energy is going to be insane. The camaraderie of the people, because a lot of these same people, and I tell people who are listening about DDPY, like, don't take my word for anything. It's my stuff. So go to Facebook. Everybody's got Facebook, and just punch in DDP Yoga, one word, not DDP Yoga, 2 words, 1 word, and request to be a member. They will accept you. And there's over 77,000 people there from all over the world. And everybody comes there who gets involved, helps each other. That's like, no one's got that. And I'm on that page all the time. And for my app, like, and anybody wants to try DDPY, the app, well, go to DDP Yoga on your, ideally you should go, because the most inexpensive it is at ddpyoga.com or ddpy.com. If you go there, it's 7 days free for you to try it. But if you go to iTunes or Google Play, they cost more because they charge more. I don't. And I've always got some special going on ddpyoga.com. But the actual app, every Monday, there's Motivational Monday. I'm going to come out there and I'm going to inspire you. Every Tuesday is a new workout. They start off in bed. They go to extreme shit. So there's every level. Every Tuesday is a new cooking show. Oh, excuse me. Every Wednesday's workouts every Tuesday. Every Wednesday's a new cooking show where I'm cooking real food. My daughter does most of it, Brittany, because she takes regular recipes and makes them healthy that taste amazing. And then Fridays, every Friday, I do Fabulous Friday. And that's where I go on that site, on that Facebook site, DDP Yoga, and I grab stories that people are telling about their journey. Because there's 77,000 people, within 3 days, 2 days, that'll be gone. But so I go on and I grab them, save them, and then I do one a week. And it might be 3 people of short stories or 1 longer story. But I'm just always so blown away by the people and what they put up there. The people who really come there, and there's so many people who come there, basically looking for hope. And those people who put the work in, they not only find it, they not only find hope, they end up being the people that are inspiring. Like the Arthur Bormans, like the Vance Hines, like, God, there's so many, Stacey Morris, Stacey Stalvey, there's so many people up there. Like, we've literally helped thousands and thousands of people, not just change their lives, but own their lives.
Oh, and I love that, Dallas, and I'm going to link the app for people. I think it's an absolute no-brainer for people to sign up, try it out, see what it's like, see how they're finding it. I'll also link the tour dates for people so that they can get their tickets. And for anyone that is interested in learning more about that, it'll be in the show notes for today's podcast. I just have 1 or 2 more things I want to talk on, Dallas, and I could literally go in a million different directions based on topics we could cover. But I want to talk about the new docuseries, Change or Die. And from my years of following you and getting so much inspiration and motivation in the way that you think and adapting the parts that impact my life in a positive way, and I think others can do the same. Talk to us about the new docuseries Change or Die.
It's something that'll be on TV probably beginning of next year. I just hooked up with a producer who does a couple of TV shows. So he really likes what we've done. I put 5 people along with one of my best friends who literally he's there to coach the people when Paige or I are not there. And his name is Josh. So he's there with these 5 different people. And 3 of them, you have no idea who they are, but you'll learn who they are. 2 of them you might know. If you're a wrestling fan, you should know Marcus Buff Bagwell. And if you're a boxing fan, who's also involved in wrestling, Butterbean. And everybody came to the house completely broken. This journey, like, it's not a reality show. It's a docuseries. And when it comes to reality shows, they constantly pit people against each other for the drama of these different people living in a house together. That's not what I do. I want people to come together and help each other. Now, getting everybody on the same page with that can be really challenging. And it didn't always work out exactly the way I wanted. So it does make for that, that TV like that. But the bottom line is the actual docuseries, it really has a really great feel, especially when you get to the end. And it's worth the hurdles that it took to get there. Because I know it's going to help people not just see, see this docuseries and just like be entertained by it, but it's going to inspire people, and it's going to teach people how to start to work on their inner voice, because everything's based on Positively Unstoppable, the book. The only reason I ever did that book was because I wanted to give people a blueprint. Like, if you follow this book and you apply and you highlight all the things in there that stick out to you, and then go back and read them again, the highlighted spots, and then go back and read them again and again and again. Repetition is the mother of learning. The more you hear something, the more you start to believe it. The repetitions of affirmations leads to belief. And once that belief becomes a deep conviction, things begin to happen. And that was the whole story that I was telling everybody on Change or Die. And most people got it. Not everybody's going to get it, but the ones that I would have thought were the farthest in the beginning, like someone I would say, okay, this person, they're going to do this. And the other people, I don't know how they're going to do. It was almost completely opposite of what I thought going in. Like, the guy who I thought was going to change everything really didn't. He didn't develop. He bought in for a while, but didn't buy in the whole way. And the guy I would have thought, this guy's completely lost, starting out, but we're still going to go through all the same things. He ended up doing the best. And that to me is amazing. It really shows that work ethic equals dreams. And I've got that inside my Hall of Fame ring. It's inscribed. Work ethic equals dreams, ! DDP. If you put the work into something and you believe and you keep putting the work into it and you believe, especially when it comes to self-help, it absolutely works. It absolutely works. Unless you don't believe it. And if you don't believe, there's no reason even about to try it. Because you have to believe. It's have faith. Like, every religion is based on it. This is like your religion of yourself, though, because you get to control the inner voice. There's no one who made you do it,
it's with the book in particular, Dallas, for everybody listening, because I know I've got a huge book reader audience. It's on Audible as well for people that want to listen to the audiobook, but there's sections in there that are going to connect and jump out at people. Like you said, the work ethic for me, it was about owning your environment. That was the one that completely flipped and changed my mindset to just simple things like, you know, I think there's a quote from Mark Merrow, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. You open that chapter with, and it just made me completely flip who was around me and the way I was speaking to myself and the way the people were speaking to me. So I think that, as you said, that self-help is only as good as if you're willing to keep your mind open to how can you potentially improve your life. And I think Positively Unstoppable, The Art of Owning It, is a great jumping off point for people, because between DDP Yoga, between the app, between the book, you're covering the body, you're covering the mind and everything in between. So I think that's, from my viewpoint, your gift to the world, your inspiration to the world. So I'm so glad that you're putting it out there for people. I just have one final thing I want to ask, but before we do that, Dallas, we mentioned the book. We've mentioned the docuseries, Change Your Diet, Relentless. There's Resurrection. There's, you put your name into Google, it's going to bring everything up in terms of all the things you've done. But is there anywhere in particular you'd like to send people to now? Do you have a preference for sending people towards Instagram, towards social media, directly to the website? Anywhere you want to particularly send people at the minute before I get on to the final question?
Well, yeah, I really want, first of all, I want you to go to the DDP Yoga Facebook, not mine, the members one, because you can ask any of them anything and they live it, because the people who are really invested, they're the ones who are writing. They're the ones who are putting up the videos. There are women who have put up pictures. Like there's this one girl named Angela Penn, and she has a picture of herself and she's got on like a bathing suit, like a bikini, and she's 400 plus pounds. And she literally wrote, I made it a fabulous Friday. And she wrote, I know some people might be offended by this picture. She said, but it's no different than me being at the beach. I wanted to see everything that I wanted to change in my life. And I mean, I applauded her for having the guts to do that. So, you know, at the DDP Yoga Performance Center, we don't do workouts every week like we used to do and everything. They want to deal with the COVID thing or constantly have a new manager to run it. We do it once a month. It's a thing. And 50, the most we can hold is 55 people. It's always sold out. But people come from all over the country. I've had people come 2,000 miles for one day. They drive 14 hours. And there's local people too. But it's mainly probably 2/3 of it are people who bought their tickets really early. All the money goes towards the veterans. You know, we get this American Legion that we put the money all together and then we give it all to them. So you're not making money, but we film. And we film the workouts. I bring someone in to film ahead of me and next, you know, who does a half-hour workout, then I do one, then there's 2 one-on-one workouts. We film them all the same day. So we have a whole new month of different workouts and different people teaching it. So people don't have to see just me. There's 20 other instructors Hayden's from London. You know, there's from all over the world, you know, a lot of the guys. But that girl, Angela, she drove 12 hours, not for the workout that'll be coming up, but for the last one. And she was up there and we put her up on stage and she's down 100 pounds. She's still got a long way to go, but she has the greatest attitude. And those people on that DDP Yoga Facebook, one word, like guys will put up things, you know, videos of themselves where, you know, they're just broken and overweight and, you know, just looking for hope. And when they put it out there, they can't believe the response they get of people's comments, and you can do this, and encouraging each other. So that's the number one place. The second place is the app. And when you go on the app and you get it, like I say, it costs you nothing for 7 days. If you decide to keep it, cool. If you don't, not a big deal to me. But the best deal you're going to get is ddpyoga.com or ddpy.com. But the thing I want you to do when you get on there, there's this something I developed a while ago, and it's called the list. It's the very first thing on the dashboard you're going to see. Like you can see, like, what do I have coming up here? That's the list, always the number one thing. The next thing is, this is from Fabulous Friday. And these are two different people with their stories up there and their amazing transformation. The next thing is that workout that's coming. The next thing is our latest cooking show. And then the tour that Paige and I are going to the UK. So the list was developed for this reason. When Arthur Borman's video went viral, I got flooded with messages from people, and a lot of them were really cool. And then there was the one that was probably this long, like 2 feet long of a message that tell me all the issues, all the problems that they have in their life that had to do with physical and whatever the injury was or whatever. And then they would break into, but you're not going to help me anyway. And you only care about money and blah, 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 blah. And I couldn't read them anymore because it really affected me, you know? So what I did, I have my people read everything that comes in. And if someone writes something like that, back then, when it cost me money, like with the app, you go on, you don't take it. I didn't have to ship it to you. You didn't send it back. Super easy. Doesn't cost me any more money. Doesn't cost you anything. In this scenario, I would say, if you do the entire list, I will send you the DVDs for nothing. My cost to send them. 3% of the people who wrote letters like that put the work in. They could have got it for nothing.
Yeah. It
was right there. But they decided not to do it because who knows? All I know is the 3%, 3%ers who did it, I know probably about 30% of those people because I've seen them. They kept going and putting the work in, and they didn't have the money for the DVDs. You know, the app is super cheap, you know, and we always do a 20% discount around this time. So you got that on top of that. But if you do everything on the list, it won't just change your life. It'll help you own your life. It's like the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. You know?
I'm going to change my last question, Dallas, because you've given me kind of an unintentional segue that I think would be very valuable for people, because we've all done something in our life that we know if we made changes, our life would improve in a positive way, how we show up in a relationship, workout program, the food that we eat, etc. For those 3% that actually did the work and the 97 that potentially didn't, what do you think is the reason that so many people hold themselves back? From your experience and your years of personal development, self-development, you've seen and helped thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions at this point, directly and indirectly. But for the probably large portion of people, Dallas, who aren't taking action, why do you think, or what do you think it is that's holding them back?
I think so many people are afraid of failure and failure again and failure again. But you have to understand, any person who's successful has failed numerous times. They just understand that failure is a part of the process. Take any footballer, because I know that's the biggest sport, crazy big sport in your country. Mm-hmm. The guy who has the most goals, how many times do you think he missed the goal? He took the shot, he didn't make it. I'll bet you his percentage is probably close to 5 or 10% that he actually really hits. And that's high. It might be 3% of the time he takes 100 shots and 3 goals go in. I mean, there's all the players in between. There's the goalie who's trying to prevent it. It's one of those things that people have to understand, that you're going to fail. You're going to fall down. It's not going to be easy. If it was easy, everybody'd be doing it. The most important thing, like I do things on cameo.com, those things that they do birthday wishes or, anniversaries or whatever. Most people do like 30-second minute deal. Mine are like 8 minutes minimum. I've done as much as 20 minutes, but depends on what the person was looking for. I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it to maybe inspire that person to turn their life around. Over 50% of those people who actually go and get a cameo, 50% of them are looking for motivation. They're looking for me to help jumpstart them and help to motivate them. And I have to explain the same thing I explain to everyone. There's not a successful person on this planet in a personal relationship, in a sports athletic, in a work, the job that they do on a daily basis. There's not a person who's successful who will tell you they're motivated. They're going to tell you they're disciplined. Discipline is the truest form of self-love. Most people don't have self-love. They don't I can't remember the exact quote in the Bible where it says treat people the way they want to be treated or the way they treat themselves, whatever, something like that. I don't want you to treat me like that because most people treat themselves like shit. They fill their heads with negative energy. They talk bad about themselves. They don't need anybody else to. They bury themselves. Self-deprivation. I can't remember how to say that word.
Self-deprecation.
Now.
Yeah.
That's it. That negative talk about themselves. I don't want you to talk to me or treat me like that. I treat myself really good. I know that discipline is the truest form of self-love. Ignoring the current pleasure for the bigger reward to come. Like I went out one night, I ran into Mike Tyson a couple times, but one time we got to actually sit and talk, and he talked to me about, at one point we started talking about training, and he said that Customato, who's in his late 70s, early 80s, training his 13, 14, 15-year-old kid. He's living with him, right? And he says to him, listen, I know you're going to hate discipline. You're going to hate it. But if you can learn to love it, if you can change the meaning of the word, if you can learn to love self-discipline, you'll be the heavyweight champ of the world. And we all know what happened. He's not only the heavyweight champ, he destroyed everyone, and he was 20 years old. So I would love to have seen what Mike Tyson did with his life if Customato didn't die and had another 10 years to really help, because that tore his feet out from under him. And everybody was grabbing at him. I saw him in an interview recently, and the interviewer said, I don't say the best time of his life, but it was something like that, best time of your life. He said, when I was in prison. Because no one could fuck with him then. No one was pawing at him or wanted from Mike, But when he was hot, that's all anybody wanted. Let's all make money off of Mike. And there's a lot of shit that happens there in your head. I'm so proud of Tyson today. Just like he's so quoted on inspirational stuff today. And, he's turned into an amazing individual because he decided to. He decided, I'm going to change this image of myself to myself and to everyone else. And right now, he's killing it. He's doing amazing. Discipline, like real self-discipline, is making yourself have the ability to do what you know you need to do, when you need to do it, whether you feel like doing it or not. Sometimes just showing up and putting the work in is good enough. And it builds. Like I have so many people who do my program. I have some people that are over 2,000 straight days. Like 2,000 straight days, 1,500 straight days, 854 straight days. I see it all the time because they make it a part of their lifestyle because of how much better they feel. And that's really the beauty of the program, because it will help you. Like, you see where I've been sitting for the last half hour. At any point in time, at 6'4", 234 pounds of twisted steel and sex appeal, I'm holding my leg over my head.
For anyone watching the video on YouTube, he's literally holding his leg over his head.
At 67 years young. So this is what my program does. And I want to close out with, I want to show Arthur's things for people who are watching. This is Arthur's before pictures, okay? This one.
Can you describe it, Dallas, just to give the visual a little bit of verbal representation? Yeah.
5'6", 297 pounds. His stomach is well out there because he's 5'6" and 297. He has knee braces that wrap into a back brace, and then he puts on his cuffs or his canes, and he'll walk like that for 15 years. This is day one. 140 pounds gone in 10 months. More importantly, he loses the knee braces, the back brace, and the wraparound canes, not just to walk, but run. This is my favorite picture of him. He's in a catcher position, but he can only go down so far. Have him make the diamond cutter sign so it puts you off on balance. And I was like, Arthur, why is your son holding on to you? He said, because I'll fall. Well, in the next picture, you can see not anymore. Now, when Arthur took the picture, the pre-picture, because there's 6 pictures that you do with DDP Yoga. It's just part of the program. And this is the number one. You stand up and you try to pick your foot off the ground. Well, he can't stand on 2 legs. So instead of trying to stand on one, he sat on his ass and picked up his foot, and he grabbed the hold of his foot. And then in the next picture is 10 months later, where he's balancing on one foot and holding his foot over his head. But this is my favorite picture. 1 year to the day, Arthur's 5'6". He took a picture of his 6'2" son standing on his back in a plank position. Like that right there, when you say, what is DDP yoga? What is DDPY? That right there. Being able to have the core strength that your 6'2" son holding onto a cat can hold on to. But I gotta tell you this. So my nephew, at this time, he's like 11, right? He's like, Uncle Paige, that's not the same guy. I said, is this the same guy? It's a picture with really long hair, the beard and the whole deal. He goes, yeah. I go, and then I showed the next picture. I go, well, I guess that is him, huh? And he was like, oh, I guess it is. So I created that just for him. And I thought I'll show people that. But watching Arthur is our poster boy. He's the guy that people go, well, if he could do it, if he could have that transformation, surely I can. Yes, you can if you put the work in. And if you're consistent and committed, because without commitment, there is no start. Without consistency, there is no finish. You must be consistent. You've got to start to learn to love yourself, because that's when you're going to start taking care of yourself. So, that to me is why I do everything that I do. And every night I go to bed, if I don't wake up, I'd be bummed out for my wife, because we really love each other, like insanely. And you guys, if you come out to any of our workshops, you'll get to meet her. And her energy is insane. And she was a mountain. She was a sports adventure athlete, which in her 30s and early 40s, where she ran 100-mile races, where she put a backpack on, 20 pounds, because she had to have stuff she was going to have to sleep and eat, because she's about to run 170 miles through the Grand Canyon in 6.5 days. Like, she's a warrior. And she's broke her back twice, yet she still climbed Mount Kilimanjaro and Mount Fuji. Like, she's a warrior. So she'll be with me as well. So that's pretty much it, my brother.
Dallas, there's so much. And again, I love the story on your wife as well. That's what I do. It's ultra marathons and adventure racing. And I'm going to be playing around with the power cuffs as well for the blood flow restrictions. So for everyone that's interested, stay tuned. I'll be tagging Dallas on my social media for that and showing you how they work. But Dallas, one of my mantras, and I say this to my partner very regularly, is that I just have a wake up every morning and hope that the world is a better place because I was here. And when I look at you, you are the living embodiment to me, that the amount of people you've inspired, myself included, and just having that positive change. Like, Arthur is one of thousands and hundreds of thousands, as I said, millions directly and indirectly. So I just want to say from my side, between the books and the work that you do, the social media, the chance to talk to you on the podcast here, the business and everything you're putting out there with programs, just a massive thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. It's so inspirational as someone from me that's on the other side of the pond watching what you're doing. And for everybody listening, I highly recommend you go watch the documentaries, get the book, check out the app. As Dallas said, it's 7 days free. Try it out, see if it's for you. It could potentially change your life in a positive way. So again, I'll put those links for everybody listening. But Dallas, thank you so much for being so generous with your time as well. I really appreciate it. And we'll chat to you again soon.
All right, my brother. Great talking to you.